looking at a race that may be an extremely chaotic event. 18 drivers today. And a lot of people that I got to talk to going into this race felt that we weren't even going to get a full hand's worth of drivers finishing today's race. Only 18 people showing up today. 16 of them will be going into qualifying. 2 drivers, Dave Ewart and, where is he? Raptor. They're both going to be serving qualifying bans. So realistically, here in Q1, it's just a matter of putting a lap time down. There will be one driver who gets dropped out of this round of qualifying. However, only one driver. I think for the vast majority of people, they're just going to want to go out there as fast as possible, turn a lap, and immediately bring that car into the pit lane. And as we already see, the first driver is beginning to move onto the circuit. That is XRLO in the Alpine. So it will be an Alpine car powered by the Renault engine. That'll be the first to take to the track here. I'm seeing a little bit more movement back there on pit lane. That looks like it's going to be Elfin Starfish. He's in the Williams machine and is now beginning to make his run out of pit lane. Now we see Raptor is already retired from pit lane as he is serving his qualifying ban. Dave Ewart also is anticipated to serve his qualifying ban in the next minute or so as well. There's also now an AlphaTauri coming out onto the circuit. That's XRL Ozda, and you also have XRL Fiend who is coming out onto the track as well. He is rounding the first corner and beginning to run uphill now. Now we're seeing more and more drivers beginning to make their way out onto the track now. There's a Haas coming out. That would be Sasha Andre, who is coming out onto the circuit. Now we're seeing a Alfa Romeo. That would be Gabo 360720. Laps here relatively quick. Could be a lot quicker if the cars are smaller and a bit nimbler, but relatively quick simply because there's not a whole lot of distance that you cover on this racetrack. It's a very short lap, the shortest in all of the Formula One calendar. XRL Fiend currently coming out of the tunnel on the run down to the Noville chicane. Very Mickey Mouse, that chicane is. Now through the swimming pool section, out of the swimming pool, down to the final corners. But what we're going to do, because we do this all the time, as Dave Ewart is now serving his ban, we are going to go silent. I'm right on board for a lap with Sasha Andre 02 for a full lap here around Monaco's street circuit. And there you are, that's a lap on board with Sasha Andre, but Level 6 Beastian has had an incident, and he has now been retired from the session. To see Ozza coming down almost to a stop there. He was in the middle of a flying lap, but is apparently elected to abort for some reason. Something has gone wrong for the AlphaTauri. He has the slowest lap time of the 4 times I've gone up on the board thus far, but we're going to try and get Level 6 Beastian in here and see what happened from his perspective. Lowe now goes to the top with a 112.303 as El Frisbee and the other Haas is out on circuit right now. But with this in mind, only 18 drivers showing up for today's event, with 2 of them serving qualifying ban, now Beastie being disqualified. Everyone here doesn't have to push hard, set a single lap, and you're into Q2 automatically. So I imagine we'll see a lot more friendliness on track with that in mind. Mr. Worson in the middle of an outlap right now, as his teammate Gabo is already on cooldown. El Frisbee in the middle of a flyer as we speak. Very close to the walls through there. Purple Sector 1 for the second Haas machine. Haas has had 10 attempts to finish races thus far this season. They've only been able to bring the car home to the end twice thus far. And even that was an asterisk because the Haas that finished the first race of the season at Montreal, he did that after trashing the car in qualifying. So it's not exactly easy for these machines to finish, but interestingly enough, that's what makes things really interesting. Why I like to run a lap on board with Sasha, because people going into this race feel that running the Haas machines here might actually be an advantage because you don't have excessive straight line speed, so you're not losing a lot of power anywhere. This car, they believe, is basically perfectly trimmed out for the circuit. Now, how accurate that is or isn't, that's up for debate, obviously, but it's an interesting statement to say the least. So we see Frisbee. He's on his cooldown lap now, but Zola has come out onto the circuit and has beginning his flying lap. Mr. Worson and Starfish are also on flying laps. But again, right now with 3 drivers already out, you're fine. Zoom around and out of the tunnel and down to the Nouvelle chicane. I'm seeing the potential for a bit of a backup here. XRL Fiend has a Ferrari behind him, and then behind that is another machine that looks like it is a AlphaTauri. I'd probably be Smoothie. Either Smoothie or Azda. Azda's also on an outlap as well. So yeah, behind Fiend, if something happens... Oh, something has happened! That's Worson, I believe. No, that's Gabo. Gabo has come almost to a dead stop there. He's not the only one. There is Ryan Hurricane, who did come to a dead stop, coming out underneath the bridge, as he comes to the bridge. Now, he is on an outlap, so he's probably just trying to open the gaps a bit. But one of the difficulties of trying to get a lap in on such a quick, small, tight circuit is, well, here's one difficulty. Mr. Worson has gone too deep into San Neville at the first corner, and now he's going to have to circle the entire rest of the circuit without a front wing. And the good news for Worson, though, is that he has set a lap, so he can just come in, bring the car into the pits, and he'll be good. He doesn't have to go out there again. As long as he has a lap time, he'll be good, but he comes almost to a dead stop out here on the downhill section to try and let other cars by. As the Alpine very nearly rides into him. There goes the AlphaTauri. There goes the Ferrari. And now the gap opens up a bit. But Worson has another car that's coming up behind him at pace. Time at the top is still 112.303. The drivers at the bottom, like Torpedo, Azza, and Fiend, their lap times, while not very competitive, will still get them in. Right now, it's just a matter of can Smoothie and Ryan Hurricane set laps. If the 2 of them can set laps, we don't need to see anyone else out on circuit. We could even see it early into Q1, depending on how things go. But the track is packed right now, and Ryan Hurricane has invalidated his lap while running behind El Frisbee in the Nouvelle chicane. As Torpedo pulls over to let him by. So now Ryan's gonna have to try again. Smoothie a little bit farther back. Smoothie just has about 3 more corners left. He's stuck behind that slow Haas machine. Frisbee about to start another flying lap. Coming in the line, Smoothie will set a lap time of 1:14.947. So now it's just a matter of Ryan Hurricane. He needs to set a lap. Ahead of him on circuit is Elfin Starfish's teammate, CBTX Mask. And the Aston Martin goes to the top now, 1:12.164. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can get down to the 111s in the latter parts of qualifying, primarily the end of Q3. But right now, Ryan Hurricane just needs to get to the next round. All he needs to do is to just set a lap, and he'll be in. Sasha Andre has retired early from qualifying after setting a very respectable lap. The track looks relatively empty right now compared to how it was a few moments ago. There are obviously some people on track, but it's not nearly as crowded as it was earlier. As Hurricane very nearly invalidates his lap there. Starfish into the wall, Michael Schumacher style. But Ryan at the line. 1:13.483. And interestingly enough for Ryan, he elected to do that on the medium tire compounds. Frisbee into the 111s with a 111.976. Outstanding job on his part. Also in the middle of the lap right now is XRL Ozda. Ozda already set a lap earlier into 113s. Earlier than that, he was at 116s. He's been bringing the times down. Through the tunnel section, shootout at 176 miles an hour, and then heavy break-ins in the Novell chicane. Keeps it nice and clean. Now on the run to swimming pool. Still clean. He's playing a devilish dance with the wall around the entire circuit here. Woo! Really sideways out of the final corner. You can't say he's not trying, but that little wheel spin coming out of the last corner cost him about 2/10. And Ozda now nearly out of fuel. But he is hoofing that AlphaTauri. Ozda has been out of XRL and F1 2021 in general for several months. He elected to stop running on Xboxes due to the extreme amount of pressure. Took a break, spent more time on his real-life karting career, put a little bit of focus into iRacing. However, he said that he missed the drivers, he missed the camaraderie here in XRL, so he has made an attempt to come back. But coming back to the realistically, your first race back at Monaco, I wouldn't exactly feel very confident in that, to say the least. Down by nearly a second at the end of the second sector, but right now for him, he just needs to get into pit lane. As it sounds like they may have run out of fuel, and that AlphaTauri, the good news is though, he has a little bit of ERS left, and he's right here at pit lane entry. So the AlphaTauri out of fuel, but it won't matter because he is in. Ryan Hurricane out on circuit, but he'll be coming in as well because he's out of fuel. Frisbee is out on circuit at the moment. Is he going to come in as well? Yes, he is, because he is out of fuel. Torpedo and Worsen are both out on circuit. Worsen has just invalidated his lap, but Torpedo is in the middle of a flyer. Worsen staying out. He wants to go faster. Torpedo, he thinks he can go faster as well. Right now, Torpedo is at the second slowest time thus far, but the time here is going to improve. He jumps up to fourth, 1:12.607. Right now, Torpedo and Worsen are the only two cars on circuit right now. Worsen, it's going to be close for him when it comes to fuel. as Torpedo is now slowing down. So Torpedo is on a cooldown lap right now. And Worsen another invalid lap. But again, he doesn't have to worry too much about it. His time is good enough to get him in. Here we are, Worsen finally returns to the pit lane, and now we focus on Torpedo. And if Torpedo elects to come into the pits and everyone who's in the pit lane retires, we could end this round of qualifying extremely early. In fact, only Mask, Torpedo, and Gabo have not retired from the session. Now Torpedo has officially retired. So now the question is, will Mask and Gabo, now it's just Mask, will Mask retire from Q1 early? If he does, we can get an early start to Q2. Just waiting for Mask to retire from the session. And there we are. So Q1, early end. But interesting enough, Ryan Hurricane on medium tires, a competitive time. So watch him. The drivers now advanced. BCN got disqualified for an accident, leading him to be parked in a dangerous spot. Raptor and Ewart serving qualifying bans. Fiend, Smoothie, Zola, Anderson, Worsen, Ozda, Hurricane, Gabo, Jabez John, Starfish, Sasha, Andre, Torpedo, Low, Mask, and Frisbee will all advance to the next round of qualifying. All right, and we're already seeing movement on pit lane. It looks like, once again, it will be an Alpine that will try and be the first car to get out onto the circuit. Ooh, but an incident in the Haas pit. They dropped the jack on Sasha's car early by the looks of it. But he is out behind his teammate Frisbee. A little bit of a bottleneck here behind XRL Low, and then Low himself has two more cars that he's behind. So everyone trying to get on track immediately to start turning laps. It's already we're seeing a bit of a stack up. Low right there behind Elf and Starfish. But it's the Alpine Fiend right now who's looking like he will be the first person to start a flying lap in this session. Mediums and soft tire compounds seem to be relatively even matched when it comes to the number of people racing them right now. I'm seeing 7 on mediums, 8 on softs. The two Haas drivers can't figure out who's supposed to go ahead. Looks like Frisbee finally elects to move over to let Sasha step up. But Sasha still's taking time warming up the tires. And now he's underway. as we see the McLaren of Extra Zola merging out onto the circuit now. Hurricane goes to the top, 112.591, but he is on the softs. The men here, well, Sasha's already invalidated, whereas we're going to see other drivers coming across the line on the mediums. The big question is going to be, who's going to be able to stay on the mediums and make the mediums work to get them into Q3? Sasha now crosses the line, has another lap going. Starfish has set a 112.7, Frisbee a 112.8, and then Gabo a 112.9. So everyone right now is in the 112 range. Zola now beginning his flying lap. This is Smoothie, meanwhile. He's just come out of the Novell chicane through the swimming pool section. He's on medium, well, the game says he has softs equipped, but he's on medium tires on track right now as he begins his flying lap here. You see a Ferrari merging onto the circuit now. Sasha now goes to the top on medium tires, interestingly enough, with the 112.5. His teammate Frisbee up there with him with another 112.5. So both Haas drivers seem to be performing very well at this point in qualifying, and Fiend has had an incident. And it's right there at the end of the straight, and I have to wonder if maybe he turned in too early and hit the inside wall. We're going to try and get Fiend in here real quickly to see what happened from his to hear what happened from his perspective. But Fiend will not advance to the next round. He will only start 15th. As Anderson is on a lap right now, 54.11 at the end of Sector 2. Blind, high, flying corners throughout the swimming pool, and now dive into the excessively tight final rounds. Coming to the party right now is XRL Fiend. Fiend out in the second round of qualifying. What happened out there?
Well, the 2 laps I've done all day today, the 2 laps I did on time trial before the race, and this here hot lap, I've been doing it all day, and I was just turning too early into the chicane after the tunnel.
A rough instant. You're going to be starting P14 due to that. So now the question is, do you think you can make your way up into the points?
Yes, I'm going to win the race. Calling it now.
I respect your dedication. I respect your confidence as well.
Yes,
I will
need
definitely
some
be keeping an
today.
eye on you then.
Yes, I need some confidence today. I've been in these parties too many times.
Yeah, sadly, this does seem to be a unfortunate recurring factor, but you'll still be in this party if you do pull out a win. Though it'll just be you'll be invited to the party post race.
That is true.
So
yes.
it won't quite be a worst first challenge, but I'll be interested to see what you can pull off, starting from 14th on the grid, to say the least.
Well, thank you. Yeah, let's see what happens.
All right. Also, one other thing. The city of Monaco, it's a very nice upper-class city. So I'm just going to ask on the behalf of the Monegasque royalty, next time you have a crash or have an incident, or you finish eating hot dogs, please do not litter. Pick up all your tires and debris and winglets after you leave the track. We want to keep this little track and this little city a very beautiful place.
Well, I think that would be too many. I think by the end of this race today, there'll be too many wings and too many tyres and too much debris to pick up in one night. We'll have to be here 24 hours to do that. But
well, I'm sure you'd be willing to do that. If you stay here long enough to clean it up, you might find the lost Legacy Diamond from, I think, the 2005 Monaco GP, so...
Oh, yeah, we'll have to see, won't we? I mean, yes, we need to look after the environment, don't we?
Alright, well, I do want to say, Fiend, thanks for being willing to jump into the party with us. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Here's hoping that you can turn things around in the race itself.
Thank you. I hope to be speaking to you again at some point in the future with a bit of a better result.
Indeed. As we turn our focus back to the track, two drivers have not yet made their laps. That would be XRL Ozza and Mr. Worsen. Interesting enough, Elfin Starfish has... did he have an accident? No, he's not had an accident by the looks of it. Has he? No, he has! Elfin Starfish has had a crash on the circuit. Yes, Starfish is out. Elfin Starfish, with his time of 1:12.798, is out. Oh, and Worsen's into the wall on his flyer. And now we're beginning to see the difficulty of trying to push around here start to really rear its ugly head. Worsen out on circuit. Car still seems okay for now, but it might not be for much longer if he keeps hitting the wall like that. 1:12.798, that's the time you need to beat if you want to get into Q3 right now. And that's XRL Torpedo, who has just brought it into the pits. All right, coming into the party right now is Elfin Starfish. Starfish, go ahead and include your audio. You were one of the fastest in Q1, but in Q2, an accident takes you out. What happened out there?
Just a silly mistake. Hit the bump last rear end twice, caught it twice, but then just tapped the wall and the wheel just popped off. Not much I can do about it.
All right, so now you're going to be starting outside of the top 10. Do you think you can get your car back into the points and finish in the points for today's race?
I think if you just finish the race, you're basically guaranteed a podium, so I think that's the plan.
All right, well, we were talking with Fiend earlier, and Fiend was very confident. He honestly felt that he was going to be able to win the race despite going out. So do you have any response to that? Do you think you could do something of a similar nature?
If he thinks he's going to be first, that's wrong, because I'm going to be first, so he can take second.
All right, well, in that little fight, you will have the advantage. You'll be starting 13th, while you'll be starting 14th, while he'll be starting 15th, I guess, so good luck. One last question. Are you going to do any heroics in Descend de Vault?
Only if Frisbee's in front of me.
All right, well, I'll definitely be watching that then.
Sure do.
Alright, thanks once again for being willing to jump in and talk with us, Starfish, as we turn our focus back onto the racetrack now. Ozda set his time in the 1:13s, but as it stands right now, 1:13s will not get you into the next round of qualifying. You need to be in the 1:12s. Mr. Worsen, another lap invalid, and it's getting very hard for that second Alfa Romeo driver to get in. His teammate Gabo has the 4th fastest time right now. Ozda coming to the line. Does he improve at all? He's up to 1:12.859, so now he just needs to find about 7/10 around the circuit, and he'll be in. But he's into the wall. But he's still clean. He's still going. He's still laying on it on the run downhill now. Crest the bump with just the left side of the car. And now Ozda's in the pits. Well, we were definitely right on board with Ozda, and all of a sudden the car teleported into the pits. All right. That's interesting. But Anderson, your points leader right now, is not fast enough at the moment to make it into the next round of qualifying. He's on the run down to the start-finish line now. 1:11, 1:12.036. That's the second best time we've seen thus far. He set it on the soft tires, the best that we see on the mediums as far as Gabeston with the 1:12.271. Worsen still trying to set a lap as Zola has crossed the line. He wants to go faster. Starfish has been squeezed out. Torpedo is now the barrier to beat with a 1:12.578. Can Mr. Worsen get a lap in? Mr. Worthrion? I'm gonna call him Mr. Worsen. Only 3 cars out on track right now. Anderson on a cooldown lap, Zola and Worsen on legal laps, and another invalid lap for Worsen in the swimming pool section. He says they have enough fuel for one more shot, so they're going to go again here. Going uphill once again. 1 minute and 37 seconds left. Torpedo retires. He is on the bubble still. Oh, Worsen hit the wall. No damage to the car. He's able to keep going. Starfish is out. Zola retires in pit lanes. He knows he cannot make it. So it's all up to Worsen. He's in the wall again. It's not looking like it's going to happen. And he's invalidated it. That's it. Session is over for all intents and purposes. And the drivers that will not advance to the next round will be Starfish, Ozda, Zola, Fiend, and Mr. Worsen. So with that, Q2 comes to an early end like Q1 did before it. So it's Torpedo, Frisbee, Smoothie, Sasha, CVTX, Max, Gabo, Low, Jabescon, Mr. Anderson, and Ryan Hurricane, who will all advance into the next round of qualifying. So an early into Q1, followed by an early into Q2. All right, and interestingly enough, only 4 drivers into the next round of the soft tire compounds: Hurricane, Anderson, Lowe, and Gabo. Now, Hurricane, interestingly enough, he used a set of mediums in the first round of qualifying when almost everyone else was on softs. So Hurricane does have basically an extra set of softs, but one less set of mediums, so it could be a very interesting strategy going in on his part. We're actually going through qualifying a really, really respectable clip, though. Another incident in the Haas pit, and that's going to cause stack-up issues for the Alpine drivers. So now it's Hurricane who's the first to get on circuit in the Williams rather than the Alpine. That Lowe is in. Lowe being very vocal and animated in pit lane, talking to his crew. He's saying that it's some of the worst cars that he has ever driven right now. Lowe had been in the Ferrari before, but now it seems to be extremely bad for him right now in the Alpine. As CVTX mask back there, and the Aston Martin. Both Aston Martins made it in, as did both Ferraris and both Haas's. Nearly everyone is on track right now except for Smoothie 25, and by the looks of it, one of the Ferrari, that would be Torpedo. Mass still being very careful right now, but for Lowe, it's going to be relatively clean track ahead of him. For Ryan Hurricane, it's going to be really interesting. He is setting himself up in the Williams to be the first driver to cross the line. His teammate Starfish was not able to make it to the final round of qualifying, but Starfish feels very confident about his ability to move up through the grid today. What can Ryan Hurricane do? Running uphill now. Oh, there's been an issue with the Ferrari of Davis John. He's back underway now. No damage to the car as far as I can see. He went off circuit, pulled to almost a dead stop there in the Novel chicane. As we turn focus once more to Ryan Hurricane, trying to be the first driver to set a lap here. Sasha Andre and El Frisbee behind him. I absolutely love that helmet. I don't normally care for helmets very much, but Hurricane has an absolutely beautiful helmet. Torpedo and Smoothie still in pit lane, have not yet made an attempt to get him out onto the circuit. 53.198 at the end of Sector 2 for Hurricane. Just 3 more corners left. Well, realistically 2, but it feels more like 3 corners. At the line, the barrier that everyone's going to be chasing will be a 111.950. Now the Haas's cross the line. Frisbee to a 111.541. Sasha Andre, though, retires in the middle of his lap. And something went wrong with Anderson there. There is wing damage. The entire front wing has been ripped off of Anderson's car. So your points leader having issues here early on before the race even starts here in Q3. Lowest set time 112.403. There is an Alpine coming up behind. That would be Lowe. However, I don't know if Lowe is on a flyer or not. Anderson's just trying to finish this lap without destroying the car. Ooh, he's into the wall. Oh, wow. Sideways coming in a pit lane, but he's made it in. As Davis John, the Ferrari, and Gabo, 360720, are both on circuit right now for laps. Sasha Andre now coming back out onto the track, wants to take another crack at it as Frisbee is coming into the pits. Torpedo is now finally out on track to gain a lap as well. Gabo flying through the... He's through. He's been very confident with the Alfa Romeo over the last few runs. Coming to the line, 111.794. As Davis John has aborted his attempt and came into pit lane. So now Torpedo is the only car on track right now in the middle of a legal lap. Sasha Andre and Smoothie 25 have both come out into the circuit. Sasha will be starting the lap shortly here. Smoothie will be starting a little bit later. But worst of all, Smoothie is caught behind Gabo right now. There we are. Gabo pulls off to let Smoothie by now. As we're following the Ferrari, 53.368, and he invalidates in the swimming pool. So now the focus goes to Sasha Andre. In the middle of the flyer, his teammate El Frisbee is up ahead on an outlap. Oh, Torpedo, almost a dead stop. Coming through the final corner. But he is underway. As once more we turn our focus to Sasha Andre. Taps the inside wheel against the inside wall through there, but he's still on it. Into Novel. Ooh, really sideways, kicking the car sideways going into the final corner. But he exited with a lot of speed. What's it going to be at the line? Not good enough. It's down 112.845. It's the slowest time we've seen thus far. Smoothie in the middle of his own lap now. Anderson is on another out lap. Just a little bit behind this AlphaTauri. Rapido, 112.175. At the line for Smoothie, 112.247. So 8 of our 10 drivers have now set laps. Mr. Anderson in the middle of his own, once again, after ripping the front wing off in his first attempt. Clean track ahead after Smoothie pulls over. There is an Alpine farther up that will be low. .928 at the end of Sector 1 for Anderson. On the run down to the hairpin. And he's out. Now through swimming pool, 53.253 at the end of Sector 2 for Anderson. Just 2 more corners to go, although it feels a lot more like 3 more corners. Davis Dunn is also on an out lap. Ooh, very skittish out of the final corner. At the line, what's it gonna be? Not a great time, 112.433. That's good enough for 8th right now. As Gabo, Mask, and Frisbee are all out on circuit, they all feel that they can go faster, so it looks like it's gonna be a 3-way fight for the pole. Can James Young get a time in? .7 at the end of Sector 2 for Javis John. As Anderson brings the car into pit lane. Coming to start finish line, Javis will be able to set a time. It'll be 111.222. Not only does he set a time, he sets the fastest time in the session, and he's in the position to potentially go even faster. Frisbee, Mask, and Gabo all in the middle of laps as well. Frisbee will cross the line in a short period here, but it will be Gabo who will cross ahead. And what can Gabo do? Can he get the pole? No, he is down by a bunch of time. Frisbee coming to the line. He improves. The difference is just 9 thousandths of a second right now. Mask up by 2/10 at the end of Sector 2. It's a 4-way shootout for the pole right now at Monaco. Out of the final corner. Aston Martin's opens up to DRS at the line. 111.326, that puts him ahead of Gabo. But he's still not fast enough to beat Javis. Javis slower this time. He just needs to hope that Frisbee doesn't find 9 thousandths around here as Javis retires from the pit lane. Frisbee up by 2/10, but he is invalidated. Frisbee is just invalidated. What about Mask? 47 seconds left. This may be his last shot at this. Smoothie and Mr. Anderson retire in the pits. Mask invalidates. Frisbee running uphill now. Time's up. Over. Blow. Sasha also on track, trying to improve on his time. Torpedo as well. But Sasha's invalidated his lap. Torpedo is actually up on his prior time by 4/10, so that would be enough to put him in the front 2 rows if he can keep that together. What can Frisbee do, though? He's second fastest. He needs to find 9,000ths if he wants in. Little sprinkles falling on circuit, but I don't think he's going to wet the track enough to compromise his lap. Oh, and he's hard into the wall! And that's it! The dream for pole position for Frisbee is dead! Torpedo, now the last car on circuit. Oh, and he's in the wall in the same place, so the track is wet. It's not soaked, but it is wet enough that it's compromising laps now. So for all intents and purposes, qualifying is over. And it's Jabez John and El Frisbee on the front row. CVTX Max and Sasha Andra in row 2. Torpedo and Gabo in row 3. Hurricane and Smoothie row 4. Lowe and Mr. Anderson making up row 5. That will bring it in to qualifying. Actually, ready a large period of time ahead of schedule. And there's your top 10 starters for the race. So now it's just a matter of how long do we wait until we get the race itself underway. It looks like we're going to be starting this race about 4 minutes earlier than anticipated, due to relatively short Q1 and Q2 and Q3 coming to us slightly earlier in the normal as well. Just stand by right now until we get underway for the race itself. So while we wait, we're going to go ahead and bring up the standings as they are now. When it comes to the Manufacturers' Championship, at the moment, from the bottom to the top, Alfa Romeo is currently at the bottom with 23 points. The Haas team has 28. That brings them in a direct tie with Williams. Mercedes has 35 points. McLaren has 37, which brings them into a tie with Red Bull for 5th. AlphaTauri is 4th with 61 points. They're just one out from Alpine, who is 3rd with 62. Aston Martin has 92 points right now, at Scuderia Ferrari with 98, leading the Manufacturers' Championship. When it comes to the Drivers' Championship, things are a little bit interesting. So Dave Ewart, Collie Boy, Venom, and Ultimate, neither of them have earned points yet thus far this season. XRL 19 has 5 points. XRL Edgar has 6. Frisbee has 10 points. He is the only person who has scored points in the Haas machine. Mr. Worsen is 13th. He has 15 points. XRL Flavor is 16. Then 11th is XRL Fiend. He has 18 points. Level 6 BCN has 21. Ryan Hurricane has 23. Young Maneuver has 26, which brings him into a tie with XRL Torpedo for 7th. Zola is 6th with 33 points. XRL Raptor has 39 points. Smoothie 25 has 43 points. Low has 49 points. Jabez John has 61. And Mr. Anderson is causing the field much trouble with 66 points, leading the championship right now. As we should be getting underway here in about 2.5 to 3 minutes as we look at the race director real quickly to see everyone's tire strategies. Beastian starting from the very back. Interesting decision on his part. He will be starting on soft tires. Don't really see what the advantage of that would be unless he thinks he can overtake drivers ahead of him. Raptor is going to be starting on mediums, as will Dave Ewart. Mr. Worsen, the only driver to be doing so, he is starting on the hard tire compound. Fiend, Zola, Ozda, and Elfin Starfish are all starting on mediums. Anderson and Lowe are starting on softs. Smoothie is starting on mediums. Ryan Hurricane, who we thought would be maybe a lock for the top 2 rows, is only going to be starting 7th, and he'll be starting on worn soft tires, as will Gabo 360720 ahead of him. Then the front 5 will all also be starting on medium tires. So we should be getting underway relatively shortly here. I just now noticed that giant-ass no smoking sign outside of the Mercedes pit. So, yeah, in that case, Dave Ewart needs to be careful to not smoke the tires leaving pit lane, otherwise he may be subject to fines, I guess. Alright, preparing to get underway here. 18 cars, 18 drivers here at Monaco. How many will finish? Excuse me. Should be getting underway here in about a minute or less. As we once again, we look at the tire choice for everyone. Worsen's going to be an interesting one to watch because he's going to be on hard, so he'll be off pace. But if he avoids accidents in the first laps of the race, he can go very long on that set. And it could really shake the way things play out. All right, as we begin to load onto the circuit now. Will anyone do any heroics in the Sandoval? That's the question. As the lights are at 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's lights out, and away we go here at Monaco. And the Ferrari gets an absolutely wonderful start at the line. And the Haas, a big accident right behind him. As CBTX Max is into the wall, and it's a stack up behind. The entire field is bouncing into each other like it's bumper cars back there. But it looks like everyone's going to be able to continue. That's Smoothie, who is losing positions now, but there's a lot of wounded cars on the racetrack. After Sasha Andre came in there sideways, hit the side of CVTX Mask, and Mask went right into the wall at a very bad angle. On board with Sasha right now. He has a time penalty. And that penalty is for collision, avoidable contact. Oh, but it's going to be interesting if he can even make it around. The wing damage to that car is enough. That's going to be difficult for him to just complete. Lowe gets a time penalty in the first lap for cutting corners. Mask, though, I'm really impressed on his part. Despite being knocked sideways in the wall right at the start, he was holding on to fifth at the moment. Oh, and Lowe is out! And the car is destroyed. But it looks like the first DNF of the day did not come in the turn 1 area, interestingly enough. And Mask is saying that the damage to the car is not enough to bring him into the pit, so they're going to keep him out on track. But Lowe is your first driver out as James Shawn leads the field, so Ferrari 1-3 at the moment. Now we're seeing the drivers who had to pit to repair damage coming back onto the circuit. Starfish is back on track, as is Smoothie. Zola is coming out. Fiend is coming out. Sasha Andre did he serve his time penalty? Mr. Worson also coming out. He is now on a set of fresh mediums as well. For Lowe, he had been complaining significantly about the driving standard, a lot about the car. He might not be willing to talk with us, it would appear. At the front, though, Javis has opened up about a little more than a second and a half over Frisbee. The only drivers who are really in overtaking range right now is Ozda on Anderson. Even at that, Ozda is losing touch with Anderson gradually. There's a little bit closer farther up between Mask and Gabo. But look at this little gaggle here. Smoothie, Zola, Fiend, and Sasha all on top of each other. A little bobble from a guy up ahead, and normally on a normal circuit that would cause a feeding frenzy all around the track, but right now, a hiccup on Smoothie's part would actually be more likely to lead to a potential incident. Fiend right there behind Zola, going down the straight, but can't seem to do anything with it. The track is just too narrow, the straights are too short. Even with DRS, you don't even come close to hitting terminal velocity at the end of the straight. It's almost impossible to get alongside in any of the corners here. That's why a lot of the people here feel that this race is more based on survival and luck than anything else. I would still argue that it's probably the most technical and most strategically based circuit. Oh, and Starfish is out into the wall at the hairpin. And that will be our second DNF of the day, sadly, as it's all gone bad for Starfish. And that promotes Worson up into 16th. Gap between first and second now up to 2 seconds. As Ozda is closing in on Anderson once more. These two have a long history as best friends. They both are veterans in XRL. Both trying to get a... Oh, and Frisbee has had an accident now! And Frisbee, the man who was running second, the man who started in the front 2 rows, out! And Haas's biggest hope of game points today is out. As coming in the party now is Elfin Starfish. Starfish, go ahead and include your audio. What happened there in the hairpin?
I lost my front wing before the corner and I missed the braking point. I thought you could stop much earlier without the front wing, but the car just wouldn't slow down, and I tried to hit my front wing to my wheel, but the car, it was impossible, and just wouldn't stop.
Alright, Frisbee, you've been pretty much the only person on the Haas team that's been able to earn points. Now that you're out, do you think there's any chance for your teammate Sasha to bring home any points for the team?
Frisbee and here.
So what?
Frisbee isn't in the party.
Oh, okay. I thought he had joined. I thought I saw his notification. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, well, Starfish, I'm sorry to see you out. So now the real question is just, do you think you can rebound from this next week when we go to USA and later after that, Mexico?
Maybe not USA because I hate that track, but Mexico I'm pretty good at. I'm faster than Elf's be there, so hopefully all things going well, podium, if not P1 by at least 55 seconds.
That's a lot of confidence. It's a shame to see you out this early in today's race, though. But I do want to say thanks for being willing to talk with us, not only in qualifying, but also in the race itself. All right, as we ride on board with Sasha right now, as he's behind Fiend. Fiend really putting the pressure on Zola, getting alongside of him in Casino, but can't make it stick. The track's not wide enough. Fiend did not have the advantage necessary as Wilson is into the pit lane to put on a set of hards, but that will trap that Alfa Romeo a lap down, sadly. As Anderson is also pitting as well, and he is pitting out of the top 6 position, so a very interesting decision on his part. But Fiend putting massive pressure on Smoothie, but not able to do anything with them. And they are closing on losing time on Beastian as well in all of this. Oh, sideways, nearly wall, and Sasha somehow kept the Haas out of the wall and out of the back of that Alpine. As they come onto the main straight one more time, DRS opens up. That works in Fiend's favor. Can't even get alongside. He thinks better of it, though. But he's right there behind Zola, going into the braking zone. Literally, the front wing on that Alpine is about as close to the rear tires as you can get. Oh, he kicks it out sideways, and here comes the Haas, side by side, going down the hill now. Still side by side. One of them's got to back out here in the hairpin. Neither of them, they're still side by side. You're not supposed to be able to take all these this many corners side by side. They're still side by side. Although with this straightaway, I imagine we'll see the Alpine pull ahead. No, they're still side by side. They've gone side by side for almost half the lap now. It finally ends, but they've lost about 2 seconds on Zola in the process, but Fiend and Sasha side by side for half a lap around Monaco. As we're seeing a flurry of activity on pit lane right now, it's Dave Ewart who has come to the pit to throw on a set of hard tire compounds. Interestingly enough, no yellow flags, not even virtual safety cars, despite having 3 DNFs thus far in the race. Gabo, time penalty, but right now it's Ferrari 1-2 at the head of the field. And Azda has finished his pit stop. He is on medium tires behind Anderson, who is on hards. But Anderson will have to change that rubber before this race is over. Those hards, as great as they are, will not last to race in. Azda looking for a way by his old friend. AlphaTauri versus Aston Martin. As they're on the run down, out of Sector 2, and out into swimming pool. Fiend, another time penalty. Aston opens up a good gap on the straight against Azda, and that's with Azda using DRS, so that speaks a lot to what he could do. Fiend's already closing back in on Zola, though. In fact, Zola really slow going into San Devot, and that brings Fiend right back up to him. Zola can see Smoothie ahead. And Sasha is starting to close as well on this battle. Torpedo, pitting out a second now. This is the most intense battle on circuit right now. There's also Ozda fighting with Anderson. But right now, this is where most of the intrigue has been as we turn the focus to those two drivers fighting for 7th. Anderson is on slower tires, but the Aston Martin seems to be just good enough to get a good run down the straight, and there's nothing that Ozda can do to match it. Fiend right there behind Zola. The DRS is open, but can he pull alongside? No. He's as close as you can get. Oh, he's hit sideways, and that's gonna leave the door open for Sasha once more. And this time Sasha completes the pass. Oh, but Fiend's not done. He went to alongside. They're side by side. He can't stay alongside through there, though. Not through Casino. And now Beastian is off pace, and that's back Smoothie up to this fight as well. So now all 5 of these drivers are all stuck on top of each other, and no one seems to be able to do anything. Sasha putting the pressure on Zola now. Contact. But Sasha is able to continue. Sideways. Putting the power down, but he's still ahead of Fiend. Beastian opening up a bit of a gap on Smoothie now. But the soft tires are falling off for Beastian, and that's backed up the entire field. As Ozda is now making a pit stop. Oh, and there's contact! And Zola is into Smoothie, and both of them have to pit. And that's perfect for Sasha that promotes him into the points. Ozda also had to pit and fix his wings, so now he's on hard tires and is going to drop out of the points. Sasha now up into 9th, and he will be able to start putting pressure down on Beastian. The thing is, Fiend is there. Fiend's not happy with how he lost that position. Oh, big sideways going downhill, and Fiend somehow keeps it together. Sasha has caught Beastian. Farther up the grid, though, CVTX Mask has caught Gabo. Gabo's soft tires have fallen off. And the Aston Martin, we know that has pace. We know that has abilities. What can Mask do in that machine? As we watch on board Fiend as Sasha puts pressure on Anderson. Yellow flags flying on multiple parts of the racetrack. No one's able to make a move through there, though, it would appear. Although Dave Ewart is caught Ozda, and Ozda has lost his front wing. And that's backed up Dave to Zola in the process. Zola is on Minas and Ozda's around. Ozda backwards on the racetrack. He's able to get going, but it's going to lock up the Alfa Romeo. I believe that was Gabo there. And now that's going to make it problematic for Gabo, Mask, and Hurricane. As Sasha now gets a time penalty. As Sasha has lost the position to Fiend now. Sorry, we did not get to catch that as it happened. But Fiend is now the one putting pressure on him. I don't see damage on the Haas. One thing I definitely see, though, is that Beastian has fallen off the pace significantly with those very worn soft tires. Raptor, Anderson, incident. Anderson's gotten away, but Raptor, he's going to be able to get away also, but they have both lost chunks of time in the process. Fiend alongside, and he's by Beastian. And Sasha has to pit to repair the damage. Fiend now up into 8th. Fiend said after the accident in qualifying, he said in the interview that he was going to win this race. Honestly, I kind of played that up as dramatic. I didn't think he actually meant that, but Fiend is the only driver out here that's been able to make moves and make them stick thus far today. He's going to try and recover from an early race accident to win. Now, he's still way off the pace of the leaders, but if he keeps this up, all it takes is a lucky safety car and a little bit of fortune he could pull off the victory. As Hurricane, Mosk, and Gabo are all still on top of each other for second through fourth, but Hurricane seems to be dropping off of Mask just a bit. Zola pulls over to let the lead lap cars by. As Fiend now in the pits. Oh! And it's all gone bad for Fiend just as I was hyping him up. A wing change, and that will drop him down the grid. He also is going to serve a time penalty as well. Excuse me. But he is finally back underway. Now the question is, will this put him in relation to Sasha, the man he's been fighting for most of this race? Sasha is behind Fiend by about 3 seconds, although he is trying to close a bit. Turn our focus back to the battle for the podium positions. Mass does not seem to be fast enough to get by Gabo, it would appear. Although we know that the Aston Martin has good straight line speed here, he's not able to get that car in position where he can get alongside and make use of it. Oh no, Raptor has had an accident! Oh, and that's a Red Bull Ranger, that's Bastian! And that will likely end up resulting in a post-race penalty for Raptor as he backed right in front of Bastian's car. The good news for Bastian, no damage to the machine, but Raptor, one of the drivers who is trying to recover from a qualifying ban and trying to be a championship contender, another accident, and now both McLarens out of the points. Also, while that happened, Javis John has made his pit stop. He will sacrifice the lead to Gabo for the moment. But Javis now on a new set of medium tires. So now the battle for the top three becomes the battle for the lead, and Javis John is on the outside watching this all. This might not have worked out well for Javis. He may not have timed this well. Depending on how long Gabo and Ryan Hurricane stay out, he might be held up by them, and it might compromise him significantly in the time. Now, the good news for him, though, is that Torpedo is a good another 11, 12 seconds back, but it still is going to upset the pace for the Ferrari that has led most of the race from the pole. Most of the race, let's not beat around the bush, it's been all the race. As Torpedo, he's caught behind lap traffic. That's Worson's. Worson pulls over to let him by, and that's going to be Raptor who's farther up. But indeed, Javis John is now being held up by the drivers he had 20 seconds on. So the question is, how long do the lead three cars stay out on the racetrack? Another lap. As Worson gets by Raptor, Raptor pulled over and ended up damaging the wing in the process. Smoothie is in the pits, so Worson will overtake him now. Zola has actually worked his way up into 10th despite being a lap down earlier. Right now, only the top 9 drivers are on the lead lap. You can see Javis chomping at the bit to get by there. Mask right there behind Gabo. Javis behind Ryan. Oh, look at that dive! But Ryan blocks it off, and both of them had to back out in the process, so that will take the two of them out of the fight for a lead. But Javis now being held up by cars on older tires and an alternate pit strat. fight for the lead is very much alive, though. Mask not able to exit the final corner with enough speed to make a move on Gabo. He gets right underneath the rear wing of that car, but he's not able to pull alongside. Sasha is in the pits, so now only 8 cars are still on the lead lap. Here he goes! There's the loot for the lead! And Mask goes ahead! Impressive job by Mask! And now Hurricane goes around the outside of Gabo. Is there damage to that Alfa Romeo that I'm not seeing? No, the car is still there, but he has just lost 2 positions on parts of the track you don't typically see overtaking it. And now James John is making the run for it. Neck and neck through the tunnel. And now James John is passed. It's all gone bad for Gabo. What has happened? I don't see damage on the car, but with the way he suddenly fell off pace, I have to wonder if maybe he did hit the wall or something. There must be something wrong with that car because they're bringing him into the pits now. Gabo, who has led laps, is now out of race contention unless some really interesting things happen. This will promote Torpedo back up in the 4th, though. There's McLaren with an issue. Oh, and that's Dave Ewart. Raptor's going to get by Dave Ewart now. As now James John is putting pressure on Ryan Hurricane. Farther back, Fiend has gotten by Beastian. So the soft tires seem to have completely died for anyone who's still on them. So for Davis, he should be able to overtake Ryan Hurricane in a trivial amount of time if it was any other circuit. But because of how tight the track is, oh wow, Ryan very nearly into the inside wall both times there on entry and exit the apex of Novell. And Mask is now opening up the gap on Davis John. And there it is. Ryan finally pits. James John will move up into 2nd, but he has lost 2 seconds on Mask. This man here, level 6 Beastian, he is the last car on the lead lap right now. You can see the race leader, Mask, bearing down on him with speed. Gabo throws on a set of mediums. There are Beastian lets the leader by. So now Fiend needs to find a way to stay ahead of Mask. The good news for Fiend, though, is that Mask will likely have to pit before he catches him. As now James John is going to sneak his way by Beastian. But John caught Beastian in a bad position. He's still 2.2 seconds out from the current race leader. How long does Mask stay on track? Oh, and Fiend's in the wall! And your race leader has just crashed! And your race leader has just crashed, and that gives the lead back to James John. Mask now has to come in, change tires, and they're going to put a brand new front wing on that car. And now there are only 6 cars on the lead lap. We have not seen a single safety car today, not a virtual one, not a full course one. It's all been a matter of just staying on the lead lap, and right now only 6 drivers have been able to do so. The Raptor really made it close there with Gabo. For James John, who is 2nd in the points, this is looking like it could be a good run for him. The next closest man to him on track now is Torpedo, his teammate. And even at that, Torpedo is 13, nearly 14 seconds out. Gabo is in pit road again to repair damage to that car. fact, it looks like Gabo might actually go a lap down very shortly here. Davis Dunn is bearing down with pace. Yeah, we may be down to only 5 cars on the lead lap very shortly here. Raptor has caught Ozda. Raptor on softs, Ozda on hards. So this battle is in Ozda's favor the longer it goes on. And Raptor has been involved in several instances, as has Ozda on their own. Torpedo has gotten by Sasha Andre now. Mask has relatively clear track ahead of him for the interim, as does Ryan Hurricane. Anderson is caught in the middle. He has Smoothie behind him, who's a lap down, and Beastian ahead of him as well. And then ahead of Beastian is Dave Ewart as well. But the fact that Anderson is still on the lead lap says monuments to his ability today. He didn't even qualify on the front few rows. He qualified 10th, which was basically mid-pack, but he has survived, and he is persevering. He is on the lead lap, one of only 6 cars still on the lead lap right now. Yellow flags through there as something happened to Mask. Yes, something has happened to Mask. The Aston Martin that was running in podium positions has had an instant there coming out of the final corner. There is front wing damage, and the worst part is it happened just after pit lane entry. So Mass is gonna have to circle the entire circuit with a wounded front wing. So now there is a risk that he might also go a lap down depending on how the rest of this race plays out. Again, no yellow flags to bunch the field up, and constant drivers gain on alternate strategies and repairing wing damage has trapped over half the field today a lap down. Fiend here behind Sasha. They're both there behind Torpedo. Torpedo's actually off pace just a little bit compared to these two cars, but they are not allowed to overtake a lead lap car unless that lead lap car has an accident. This is perfect for Fiend. It's trouble for Sasha. These two have been fighting all day long. That's the McLaren farther up there. I believe that's Zola. Yes, it is, and that means that Zola is now going to factor into this fight as well. So Torpedo off pace as his tires are starting to fall off, is causing a really crazy bunching effect here in the middle of the field. Here comes Sasha on Zola once again. He's gonna make a crossover move, coming out of Casino, on the run down, neck and neck. Who's it gonna be? And Sasha gets by Zola. Gabo, now a lap down. Only 5 cars on the lead lap. And Zola, time penalty. And that's not going to serve him well. As we look at time penalties right now, Gabo has earned 11 seconds, Sasha 9, Zola 6, Fiend 9. And Sasha, Zola, and Fiend, those three have been on each other for so long that that's been a big aspect as to why they've gotten so many time penalties. They've been stuck on top of each other basically all day long today. Oh, and Fiend's into the wall. No damage to the car, but he did hit the wall there. And that's Williams behind. And Bastian's had an incident at the end of the tunnel going into Novell, but he's able to continue. Fiend pulls off to let Hurricane by. Hurricane needs these cars ahead to pull aside so he can get a chance to fight with Torpedo. Right now, the only thing that's keeping Torpedo where he is on track is lap traffic. Now the McLaren pulled up. Fiend Fiend timed that well because Fiend capitalized on that, got by. Now there's Sasha. Sasha and Fiend make a little bit of contact there. And Fiend gets by both of them. Fiend by Fiend Virtual, the first one to pull off. He stayed right behind the third place man, so when the drivers ahead had to pull off, he was able to capitalize and get by. It's sneaky, it's bullcrap, but it was a legal set of passes for Fiend, and he's into the wall! And Zola has to come into the pits to repair damage now. And now Sasha is back ahead of Fiend, but Ryan Hurricane is now behind the second Ferrari of XRL Torpedo. Oh! And right into him! Ryan Hurricane right into Torpedo's rear end! And there is wing damage on the Williams that was running third. And that brings Fiend and Sasha back into play. Again, these two will not be allowed to overtake Hurricane unless Hurricane pulls over. And there's a McLaren that's struck in. That's Zola. Something's gone wrong with Zola. What in the world had happened with Zola? He's come almost to a dead stop on the front straightaway. He's back underway now, but Zola, who was still running in the points, is now dropped down to 14th. Fiend has had an instant there in Nobel. As Dave Ewart is here behind Raptor and Azza, these two drivers continuing their fight. As Hurricane's pitting out third, and now Ferrari massively secures their grip in the top two positions. Raptor with a run on Azda. Does he make the move? No need. Azda has front wing damage. And they're both way so far off pace, they have no chance of fighting for points. But Azda into the wall. And that will promote Raptor up into 12th now. Oh! And Reed's into the wall 2 more times! The car is still alive, but that's right in front of the race leader! Oh, that had to have been a heart in the chest moment for Davis Don. What in the world, Dave? What happened there? Dave Ewart teleporting on and off pit road. So now the game seems to be starting to break down, it would appear. But now this is changed things. Ryan Hurricane on fresh mediums behind Anderson on worn hards. As Azza and Zola both in pit lane to repair damage. Shockingly, 15 of our 18 starters are still on the track. That's not to say they've not had accidents, because they have. But the accidents thus far have been limited to just wing damage. And we saw 3 drivers drop out in the first 5 laps of the event, but after that, everyone's been staying in. Hopefully me saying that doesn't jinx it, but shockingly enough, when it comes to drivers still on the lead lap, only 5 of them. And it's the Aston Martin and Ferrari team that are making the best of it right now. Ryan Hurricane Williams splitting the Aston Martins on the grid, but he is right behind Anderson and about 9.5 seconds ahead of Mask at the moment. Gabo pitting out 6th. Now promote Worson. Worson was 2 laps down at one point in the event, but this will promote Worson into potentially getting that position. Here we are for the move. Ryan can't make it stick though, it would appear, but he's faster, or at least was faster exiting that corner. And now we're at the point of the race where lap traffic is now a problem, but not in the way you think. We're seeing situations where lapped cars are faster than lead lap cars, but lap down cars are not allowed to pass lead lap cars. So we're seeing that problems for the top 5 drivers are having knock-on effects on the rest of the field. Hurricane has a run on Anderson. Can he get alongside into Sandoval? That's an absolute no. Mass Mask has just set the fastest time of the race, so he's going to be closing on this duo. And there's clean track ahead of Mask right now. There's a Haas that's going to be there to kind of play havoc, but that's not going to be an issue for several more laps. Right now, Hurricane on fresh mediums, trying to get by Anderson on worn hards, and he's not able to figure out a way to do it. But Dave, an instant there in the swimming pool section. He is back underway now, though. Riding on board Sasha, he is a lap down, but he has more pace for Sasha. It's aggravating. He's stayed right behind Hurricane and hope that Hurricane can find a way by Anderson, because he has no other way to make use of his set of tires right now. Worsen pitting on 23-lap-old hards. Hurricane trying to get alongside Anderson, and Anderson pits. And that's good news for Hurricane, good news for Sasha Andre. Because now Sasha will be able to take more use of the mediums that he has. And Hurricane on the relatively fresh mediums should be able to try and bear down on Torpedo. Torpedo is 21 seconds ahead of Hurricane right now. Oh, the Williams is sideways. Wow! That was tight. Torpedo himself is having to deal with lap traffic. That's Ozda and Zola behind him right now. And there goes Torpedo into the pits, trying to get fresh rubber. So he'll fall to third, might even fall to fourth, depending on how good CVTX Mask is. The wild card in this all is going to be, although Ryan will be able to open up a gap, there is the lap traffic of Sasha Andre. And Sasha, if Sasha's tires start falling off, it will back Mask and Torpedo up a bit. But for right now, the gap between Sasha and Mask is pretty significant. It's about 3.5 to 4 seconds. But that will fall because Mask has fresher rubber than Sasha. Torpedo himself now in fourth. I'll be able to close. Anderson's in a very interesting position as he elected to throw on a set of soft tires here. Now, good news for him is that the car right ahead is also on the lead lap on fresh rubber. Torpedo's rubber isn't actually that fresh, despite the fact that Torpedo pitted. They put on worn medium tires. I don't know what the strategy is there, but Anderson will have the advantage that he's not going to be bearing down on the people ahead super fast, so he'll be able to set some good, clean laps here for the next several circuits. No, wait a second. Oh no, Anderson's a lap down. Yep, we now only have 4 drivers on the lead lap, actually. I'm sorry. So that was James John. Oh, and Torpedo's in the wall. No damage to the car by the looks of it, but he's into the wall. Well, there must be something wrong with the car because he's brought it into the pits. And that will put the second Ferrari a lap down. There will now only be 3 cars on the lead lap today. I didn't expect this. I expected we'd only see, some people are saying only 3 guys are going to finish this race. It looks like they're going to be right in a sense. It looks like only 3 cars are going to finish on the lead lap. And that's assuming nothing happens to them. Mask right now, 4 seconds behind Hurricane. Hurricane is 54 seconds behind Javis Dawn. Now that gap will shrink. Javis will eventually have to make a stop. But to put things in perspective, Javis Dawn just entered Sector 2. Hurricane's not even out of Sector 2 yet. And Mask is another 4 seconds back. If something happens to Hurricane or Mask, the 2 of them will go a lap down. Ozda, Fiend, fighting for position. And it's gone bad for Ozda. The entire front wing is knocked off the car. And what's bad goes worse as Fiend pulls over to let Zola by. Down the main straight, he feels that the overtake there was not legal, so he will not take advantage of it. There is a Haas that is having issues there. That's Sasha. Front wing gone. and he'll go another lap down now. Oh, and Beastian's had an incident. So as it comes down to it right now, if we look at points paying positions, Worsen is 4 seconds less than that off of Beastian. But Beastian might be pitting. There may have been damage in whatever happened there. Going into Novo chicane. No, Beastian's not pitting, but Sasha's pitting now, so that will drop Sasha behind Beastian. That means that, but Worsen just pitted. So Sasha will be able to hold on to 10th because Zola is more than 20 seconds out right now. Zola. Worsen now drops to 13th spot. Zola up into 11th. He's 23 seconds off from Beastian right now. So for now, it seems like Beastian is relatively protected there when it comes to points paying positions unless something goes wrong. Because his mediums will fall off a little bit later than Zola's softs will. So he'll be able to further extend the gap. Sasha is now up into 9th. Raptor, he was back there in 14th earlier. He's turned that around. He is now in 8th. The problem is he's on a set of soft tires. He'll have to pit, and when he pits, he's going to drop right back out of the points paying positions. Smoothie there in 7th would be in a similar position. He's on very worn softs, but he has 40 seconds over Raptor. So when Smoothie pits, he'll just come right back out in 7th. He's 20 seconds, though, off from Gabo, so he has no chance of catching Gabo at all. The question right now, in my mind at least, is when does Raptor pit? And when he pits, how far down the grid does he fall? He was back there in the 14th, 13th positions earlier. He's gotten his way up into 8th, but it's off the value of having faster tires while everyone else pitted. That's going to come back and bite him now. You might be able to make up positions short term by doing that, but you're going to have to pay the piper at some point in the event, unless you made that decision very late in the event. Mask, fastest lap, 1:14.048. Oh, and Ozda's out! And Ozda is out in the swimming pool section, as right in the middle of the racing line as well. Sasha and Raptor got by. BC will be the next one to come up upon it. But I think the car will be despawned by... No, that's your leader who's going to get by it. That's James gone. But it's gone. Oh, but that's not it. Raptor has just had an accident. Raptor around. And he's blocking the track out of the final corner. All right. And coming in the party right now is XRL Ozda. Ozda, go ahead. Include your audio. Accident there in the swimming pool section. What happened?
I just went full beams through swimming pool and messed it up, caught the curve, and that was it really. Couldn't save it at all, so yeah, I just was basically a passenger for the whole thing.
Alright, you have been involved in several other incidents earlier in the same kind of portion of the track, but I'm a little bit more curious about what happened to you twice. You had spins and accidents there in the second to last corner, the corner right before pit lane entry. What happened those times?
Just got the power on too early, then yeah, smacked the wall, so yeah, I'm surprised I made it this far actually, considering I'm feeling quite ill, so yeah, 34 laps is pretty decent for me.
Alright, it's a shame to see you out this early in the event, but the worst part is you probably could have been. Oh, and Sasha's out! And Sasha Andre has just had, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Sasha Andre has just had an accident there right before the last two corners, and we're now starting to see drivers drop out of the event once more. Alright, but anyways, Ozda, thank you for being willing to jump in and talk with us. It's a shame to see you out like that.
Yeah, thank you.
And now Sasha Andre out of the event. So that will promote Zola up into 10th, but Zola is pitting, so now Fiend actually gets into the points paying positions. For Raptor, he has still not pitted. He is on 18-lap Warren Sauce. All right, coming to the party now is Sasha Andre. Sasha, big accident there, but in a very strange part of the track. What happened that took you out?
I think I was pushing too hard and then I put the throttle down too early and then I lost the rear and my tire went off in the wall.
All right, well, it was a massive incident there. It's a shame to see you out. Another race, no points for the Haas team. Do you think you'll be able to bring any points home for Haas next week at USA?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't try the Haas on USA yet, so I don't know the pace of the car.
All right, well, you looked very good in qualifying, and without a doubt, you had good one-lap pace. Also, I do want to say this, Sasha, I was following you for one time around. You went side by side with, I believe it was Fiend, for almost an entire lap around the circuit. I was watching while that happened. That was outstanding. If you could have completed that and then also finished in the points, I would have said easy driver of the day, personally.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's the word from Sasha Andre. Another DNF for him, sadly, but there's no lack of talent behind the wheel of that Haas machine. It's just the machine itself is the issue, it would appear. All right, as we turn our focus back to the racetrack, John, Hurricane, and Mask continue to be the only cars on the lead lap right now. It's going to be really interesting, though, because John's going to have to pit sooner or later, and that may unlap the likes of Anderson and Torpedo, depending how things go. What we're seeing, it looks like the timing stand is starting to malfunction. Oh, and there's been an incident. Fiend has gotten into Mask. And there's damage on Fiend's car, and Mask, the man who was running third, has had his entire front wing's gone, and Fiend's front wing is gone now. And the man who's been running third now has, and there's a McLaren right there in the tunnel as well. Christ alive, Raptor has had damage as well. What in the world is going on? Mask, the car, no front wing. Fiend, no front wing on his car as well. And now the game just penalized Ryan Hurricane. No, it didn't. It undid it now. Okay. Raptor is circling the track with the pit road speed limiter on. Something has gone wrong for Raptor. He is circling the track with the pit road speed limiter on. Fiend has lost his entire front wing, as has Mask. Mask is going to go a lap down from this by the looks of it. Yeah, here comes Jabez John right now out of the final corner. And now only 2 cars on the lead lap. And Ryan Hurricane, the game is saying that Ryan Hurricane might be in a position that he might be a lap down as well, because he's about 2 minutes behind Jabez John, apparently? Well, Gabo and Torpedo are having to fight for 5th and 6th. Here we are, Ryan. All right, so now it's fixed itself. So yeah, Ryan is on the same lap as Jabez John right now, but about half a lap down compared to our current race leader. This is the really interesting one. Smoothie is somehow apparently over 2 minutes behind the leader right now, but it's not marking him as laps down, interesting enough. And Fiend is out of the race. So now there are only 12 cars left on the track. The good news for Fiend is that he has pulled the car off the circuit far enough into the runoff there, so it will not compromise other drivers. Raptor is back underway, but being forced to circle the entire track into the pit lane speed limiter has not served him any benefit. He's 4 laps off the leader's pace right now. And that's Dave Ewart coming into the pits. Jabus John has been on his tires for 25 laps. Hurricane has been on for 13. What in the world? And now Dave's disconnected? What? So the game is now malfunctioning. Can't figure out if Dave is supposed to be on pit lane or not. That might work out. That works out in Raptor's favor, though, because now he will have the position very plainly over Dave Ewart. Oh, and Raptor's just spun! Yes, as I say that, Raptor has had a spin in the Novell chicane. The good news is no one around him will be able to continue. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can say for a certainty that the game has busted. So glitches at Monaco upsetting the race. The good news, though, is that everyone has large enough gaps between them that shouldn't actually compromise lap times. But Gabo was just given the fastest lap of the day, measured in fractions of a second. So I don't know if that's going to be counted post-race or not. Probably not, I'd imagine, because it wasn't actually earned. But good job on the Alfa Romeo team as they are now trying to test out faster-than-light travel. But Gabo, in all reality, is still right there behind Torpedo. Gabo on mediums, Torpedo on hards. The benefit will be in Torpedo's favor, especially considering that Torpedo's tires are younger than Gabo's. Mask! No! Your driver who's been running third, he had been on the lead lap most of the day, and he has had a big accident on the main straightaway, and somehow that's not a yellow flag, interestingly enough. But Mask, who has been running the podium positions all day long, an accident on the main straight, but we are still green. We have not had a safety car or a virtual safety car all day long. We'll try to get Mask in here to hear what happened from his perspective. The good news is that will bring Raptor and Dave Ewart into a position where they can fight to try and get points potentially. As now, it's taking a long time, but now drivers are beginning to crash out of the event. Smoothie, 1:14.616, so that's the actual fastest lap time thus far by Smoothie in the AlphaTauri. Hurricane is still over 50 seconds behind Jabus Dawn at the moment. So at this pace that John is going, there is a serious risk that Ryan might get trapped a lap down. If you're quiet enough, you can hear the sound of 3D printers in pit lane going hard as they're trying desperately to get new front wings made, and Torpedo and Gabo have just made pit stops at the exact same time. And there's wing damage on the Ferrari. Was there wing damage on Gabo's car? Yes, there is. So for 4th and 5th place drivers, both have wing damage. That will promote Smoothie now up into 4th position. Beastie not close enough to close on him. He's a lap off from them right now. Anderson's hanging out in the podium spots. Jabus John leading the race, so the two of them are going to be right on top of each other in the points, leaving today's race by the looks of it, if they finish in the positions they have been. And nothing's guaranteed because CVTX Mass looked like he was guaranteed a podium spot, and that's gone all sideways. Beastian will have to pit sooner rather than later, and when he does, that will likely trap him behind Mr. Worsen. Here's an interesting one, though. Torpedo is at the risk of going a lap down unless Jabez Dawn elects to pit soon. But right now, Torpedo is on a flying lap. Might be able to vie for fastest lap of the race if he keeps it up. Good news for Torpedo is that Gabo behind, they put on worn tires on that car, and Gabo has been caught another lap down by the race leader. So for Torpedo, he can go really hard and doesn't have to worry about Gabo for a long time. Not the lead Ferrari. This is the second Ferrari. He's currently running 5th, a lap down. Purple Sector 1. Might be able to steal fastest lap here, but that will continue to fall because there's still 33 laps left in this event. As Dave Ewart and XR Raptor both come into the pits to repair damage. And if these two drivers end up more than 7 laps off the pace by race end, they will not be eligible to get points. So they need to stop hitting walls and ripping off wings. Dawn, 30 lap worn medium tires, still not showing any signs of coming in. And interesting enough, he is maintaining, if not slightly extending, the gap he has on Ryan Hurricane. So for Hurricane, it's just a matter of survival, and you'll be able to come home second. Raptor right now is 4 laps down. Dave Ewart 5. So for them, they just need to not go more than 2 or 3 more laps down. Otherwise, they will not be credited with completing 90% of the race. They won't get points for finishing. Right now, there are only 11 cars left on the circuit. As Dave Ewart now has finally officially completed an overtake on CBTX Mask. He is behind Ryan Hurricane right now. He's got faster tires, but he's not been able to keep the car out of the wall very well today. To put things in perspective as how spread out this field has gotten today, if Jabez Keon, your race leader, crashed out, right now we would still only have 2 cars on the lead lap. That would be Ryan Hurricane, and then Mr. Anderson would get back on the lead lap. Smoothie is not in a position to be on the lead lap. So, to put things in perspective, even if one of our top 2, well, even if Jabez Keon crashed out, we'd still only have 2 cars on the lead lap. The pace that he's been put down has been monumental, and Ryan Hurricane has only been able to match it, and that's matched with quotation marks. He's still 55 seconds off pace. Oh, and Dave, another instant there. In the final corner. He'll be able to let other cars go at least, but he's not able to keep this car straight at all, it would appear. Gabo right under a possible threat of going 2 laps down, but again, I wouldn't be worried too much about it. Jabez Dawn will have to pit sooner rather than later. The weirdest part about this race, well, about this entire event, early into Q1, early into Q2, Q3, ended at about its normal time, if not slightly earlier. So he started the race early. We're on pace for one of the fastest races in XRRL history, if not the fastest, because we have not had a single safety car And we have not had a single virtual safety car either. We've had regional yellows, but despite having 6 guys taken out, seven guys, I'm sorry. Despite having 7 guys taken out of the event at some point in the race or another, we've not had any yellows at all. So it's really been a weird race. It looks to me like Raptor's about to go a lap down here. Unless Jabez John elects to pit. That's the thing. If Jabez John pits, well, he's going to have to pit. I don't think these mediums are going to last another 30 laps. But when Jabez John pits, it will relieve the pressure a bit for the likes of Raptor, Zola, Worston, and Bestia in a bit. For Dave, though, for him, it's just a matter of he needs to stop having incidents. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to finish 90% of the race today. And the way it's looking like now, Hurricane could still potentially fall a lap down. I'm not saying it will happen, but as we look at penalties real quickly, Hurricane has 3 seconds worth of penalties. Jabez Don has none. But all Hurricane, if Hurricane gets held up behind lap traffic for any serious period of time, it's gonna hurt him. Oh, and Dave's out. And that's right in the apex of the racetrack, and that gives Jabez John a time penalty in the process. Sim will be able to navigate his way by. We're going to try and reach out and talk with Dave Ewart now. So now the question is, can these drivers who are still on track make it to the race in? If everyone on track is able to finish this race, everyone will get points at the rate that's going. Doubly so considering that Jabez John will have to pit sooner rather than later. So that will take the pressure of maybe going too many laps down off of Raptor and Zola. So right now, this is it. The races, for the most part, kind of made irrelevant. The closest battle on track is Gabo trying to catch back up to Torpedo, but the gap is 2.2 seconds, and both Torpedo and Gabo's tires are going to fall off at about the same pace. So I don't know if Gabo's really going to be able to close in on Torpedo at all. And everyone is so spread out now that it kind of, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think we're gonna see any more instances where one driver is holding up another for very long. Very bizarre race, to say the least, but we are still on track for what might be the quickest XRRL race we may ever see. Ever. .27 laps to go. So we're just under 2/3 of the way through the event. Gabo within about 2 seconds, so he's taken off about 2/10 off of Torpedo. And that's another instant by Raptor there. And they'll have to repair the front wing, and that will trap him another lap down, unless Jabez selects to pit this lap. Nope. So Raptor goes another lap down. So for Raptor, he desperately needs Jabez Don to make multiple stops if he wants any serious chance of finishing the race today. pain for the McLarens, but both McLarens are still running and are still in points-paying positions, assuming nothing crazy happens. BCN is now making his stop, and that will work out in Worson's favor, as Worson will now move by him and go up to 7th on track. BCN throwing on a set of hards. Those will last into the race end. And honestly, with how far Jabez has stretched this set of tires, 37 laps, when Jabez finally elects to pit, he could throw on another set of mediums and make that last in. Also, not to mention, Mr. Anderson, 22 laps on softs. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Jabez might be able to push out far enough. He could go ahead and throw on a set of softs to the end if he insists on staying out for a few more laps. There's something wrong for Anderson, as he has just let Smoothie by, and that was for position, but Anderson pulls over and lets Smoothie by. I have no idea what the strategy is there, but there might be damage on the Aston Martin for your points leader, and we are not able to see it. Car sounds like it's a little bit down on power as well, going down the straight. Well, he's not disconnected, that's for sure, but Anderson has dropped a bunch of pace all of a sudden. There's gotta be damage on the car that we just can't see here from the camera shots. There must not be that much because Anderson's staying out on track. Here's a bit of a gaggle. Ryan Hurricane, he's gotten by Torpedo, but Torpedo still has to worry about Gabo behind, and this will be for position between Torpedo and Gabo. BCN is in the pits. And that will put Beastin another lap down, more than likely, because your race leader is coming out of the final corner as we speak. Hurricane now a full minute out from Jabez John. And both Ryan and Jabez will have to pit again before race is over. One of the strangest races I've ever seen, especially at Monaco. No VSCs, no full course safety cars, but a bunch of DNFs. Gabo can't seem to keep up with Torpedo through most of the track, though, it would appear. And outside of this battle between Torpedo and Gabo, all the gaps are so wide, there's almost nothing to talk about. It's an extremely bizarre, just plain bizarre race. As we now see Mr. Worson pull over, and that will let Mr. Anderson by, but in the process, Zola was not close enough to Anderson to follow through, so Zola's caught Worson. He's faster than Worson, but can he do anything to him? He didn't time it right with Anderson. Oh, and Worson just pulled over. So that promotes Zola now up into 7th. As now Worson seems to be extremely slow on the racetrack. So now, I know what's going on. A lot of the drivers going into this event were betting and banking on there being a lot of safety cars and virtual safety cars. I know what's going on now. Drivers are having to let off. They're having to do everything they can to save fuel. Ladies and gentlemen, the 10 cars we see on track right now might not be able to finish this race. We may have a problem where a bunch of guys are under-fueled, trying desperately to just save fuel. We may not be able to see everyone finish this race because they're going to run out of fuel in the closing laps. We know some drivers, they've been talking about under-fueling by a full lap, 2 full laps, maybe even 3 full laps. The race pace is so very blatantly changed, and even if we start getting safety cars now, it wouldn't matter. The field is so spread out, and they'd still burn so much fuel trying to gather back up. Oh my goodness, this entire event is going to go on its head topsy-turvy, because drivers who have underfueled are going to be in such a difficult scenario. You know, it's not even a matter where they can go from being normal race pace to just a lean mixture. No, that's not even going to save them. You can't, I don't know if you're going to be able to find an extra 2-3 laps. For some of these people here, this could, oh my goodness, this is going to be insane. I don't know I don't know how many people are actually going to be able to finish this race. Here in the broadcast booth, I don't have any way of typically seeing how much fuel a driver has. Ryan Hurricane, they're saying that he's a little bit iffy on fuel right now. Raptor is iffy on fuel. Worsen is iffy on fuel. Zola is iffy on fuel. Gabo has caught Torpedo. Torpedo is iffy on fuel, and here comes Gabo. This is gonna get really weird. Because now a bunch of drivers, we don't know if they're going to be making it to the end on fuel. Torpedo is also trapped behind the lead lap car. Ryan is off pace compared to Torpedo, and Torpedo doesn't have the fuel to get by even if the guy ahead was a lap down. Torpedo has to save fuel everywhere he can. Gabo's not worried about it. Here comes Gabo. Torpedo's not letting him get alongside anyway. Torpedo, just by holding the normal racing line, blocks him all the way uphill. Oh, but there they are. They're side by side for position. Going now. Torpedo holding off on the inside. Gabo around the outside. Dive bomb into the hairpin. He can't make it stick. He has to back out. But numerous drivers, very, very iffy on fuel. So now I understand why Anderson's fallen off on pace so hard. He doesn't have the fuel to make it to the end. He is probably the most underfueled man here, considering how early he backed off. In fact, Torpedo is actually closing in on Anderson by several seconds left, despite the fact that Torpedo himself is also fuel saving. Here comes the move. Gabo on Torpedo. On the inside. Contact! Torpedo barely keeps it out of the wall. Gabo, no fuel worries. He's able to keep going. Torpedo needs to start saving fuel again. And Mr. Anderson, they say that they've recovered enough fuel that he'll be good for a while. But he is now only 3.7 seconds ahead of Gabo. So Anderson, who earlier today looked like he might be the only person to finish on the lead lap, might not even be able to do that depending on how things go. This event just keeps getting curiouser and curiouser. This is Zola behind Anderson. But again, Zola is another lap behind Anderson in pace right now, so although he might be faster than Anderson, who's on very worn soft tires, Zola's not allowed to overtake the guy ahead. Good news for Zola, though, is that Beastian is 22 seconds out, and while both of them have tires that can last to the end, Zola has no worry about, but he's, what in the, Zola let Gabo by, because Gabo is a lap ahead of him. Never mind, I'm sorry. And that means we should be able to see something similar we would see something similar to Torpedo, but Torpedo has come in, they're taking off the soft tires, they're putting on a fresh set of mediums, and they are also putting on a new front wing for Torpedo. So your number 2 Ferrari coming back on track now. He's still very iffy on fuel, though. That's going to be the big question mark for most of these drivers here. For Ryan, he is still in fuel conservation mode. You can see he's not even used the ERS at all. It's at full charge. You hardly ever see ERS at full charge. This goes to show how much Ryan needs to save around here. He is going, if at this rate, he's going to fall a lap down to the race leader. You can hear how early he lets off going down into the Nobel chicane alone. Yeah, Davis Dunn is laying off at normal position. So Ryan Hurricane right now, dude, you can hear he's laying off and coasting so far around the circuit right now. And yeah, being underfueled means you're a little bit lighter. That normally would help you break with pace early on. And obviously it has, because Hurricane's been able to stay on the lead lap. He's the only guy, not the leader, who's been able to stay on the lead lap. But now that's turning around and biting him, because he was betting, a bunch of drivers were betting on YOLO. And biggest thing of all, here's the number 1 thing to consider. I'm pretty sure it's Ryan Hurricane who sets up these race lobbies. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. If anyone thinks that something happened to where, setting up the lobby, caution flags or yellow flags was turned off, I don't know. I don't think that's happened because I think Ryan Hurricane set up the lobby, and he's the one who's suffering the most from this right now. So, if he did it, it must have been an accident because he is not benefiting from it. Now, I will say this. If it's Zola, no, because Zola's now having fuel issues as well. Who is not having fuel issues? Raptor fuel, Worsen fuel, Zola fuel, Torpedo fuel. Anderson's fixed his fuel problem, but he had fuel issues earlier, and Hurricane fuel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of our 10 drivers still on track have issues with their fuel to the end of this race is questionable. And I'm going to be honest, that number is only going to increase as the race goes on. The number of drivers who are iffy on fuel is only going to increase. We might honestly see everybody in fuel save mode in the last 10 laps because we have no yellow flags whatsoever to speak about today. As Gabo has caught Mr. Anderson for position. Anderson was saving fuel earlier. He's not in a position where he has to save now, but Gabo has been significantly faster, and Anderson is on very worn soft tires. Gabo is on moderately worn mediums, so Gabo should be able to make quick work of Anderson if it wasn't Monaco. But every overtake here, although we've been seeing a good amount of them, every overtake here is a pain to try and make happen. You can see Gabo laying hard on the ERS, going through the tunnel, and there's contact! And that's a time penalty for Gabo, but he gives the position back to Anderson, and Smoothie, who was up there in third, he is now pitting, and they've thrown on slightly used mediums for him. Those tires will last Smoothie to the end of the race. Does Anderson pit to get off his softs? Not yet. Gabo is going to get off his mediums, though. So that might put Torpedo back ahead of him because Torpedo is on tires that they'll be a little bit but they will make it to the end. No, Torpedo's too far back. I don't think he'll be able to get by Gabo. But that will put Mr. Anderson back ahead of Gabo, though, by a significant amount for the moment. And Gabo's actually throwing on softs, so he's going to make these softs last the last 16 laps of this race. Smoothie nearly a lap down compared to Ryan Hurricane. Ryan himself is nearly a lap down compared to Jabez Khan. And Ryan is still in fuel saving mode as well. So a gap that was holding steady at about 55 seconds, Ryan is now gone to 77, so he's lost 67, so he's lost about 12 seconds in the last dozen to 20 laps because he's just trying to make sure he has enough fuel to race in. But he is very seriously at risk of maybe not finishing on the lead lap. And the crazy thing is, Ryan Hurricane, he's in a normal race. We'd say, dude, everyone's multiple laps down and Hurricane second. This is great for him. And it would be. But considering the way Monaco is, even if, and the way this race is gone, even if Jabez Khan had an accident and he crashed out right now, even if it was a yellow that bunched the entire field up, it wouldn't matter because Ryan Hurricane might not have enough fuel to make it. He is the driver who is in the biggest question mark when it comes to fuel right now. Smoothie is actually closing in slightly on Ryan Hurricane, but Smoothie is nearly a lap down, so it really doesn't have much of an effect. We'll see that gap close up a lot more when our top two leaders do eventually make their stop. Jabez Khan has stayed on this set of tires for 48 laps. That's the other thing that absolutely blows my mind. John has had no issue whatsoever making this set of tires go. And he has only earned one time penalty, and that time penalty was basically because another car crashed on the track in front of him on Noville chicane. There was nowhere to go. He had to go off circuit to get by him, and the game penalized him for that. That's honestly one of the few 3-second penalties that might get removed post-race. Normally, track violation penalties don't get removed post-race unless it's something blatant. That was blatant enough that honestly, Jabez might get that time removed. There we are. Smoothie fastest lap, 1:13.627, and Smoothie's in a very good position as well because he's still not worried about on fuel, at least looking at the telemetry that we have pulled up. So with that in mind, he could honestly go for fastest lap point without issue. Same with Gabo. Gabo here also doesn't have to worry about fuel. Here we are. Jameson has making his stop now to get off this set of rubber. And it's going to be a fresh set of soft tires. And he's away. Now, I don't know. I will say this. I don't know if Ryan Hurricane might. It'll be iffy because it's another 14 laps. So Ryan will be looking at 51 laps of this set of rubber. But Ryan Hurricane might be able to make it today on this set of tires. That will make things a little bit easier for him when it comes to finishing on the lead lap. But right now, he's being recorded as being 1 minute and 11 seconds off the leader's pace. Now, that number is going to drop significantly once Ryan Hurricane comes down the main straightaway, because at that point, he will cross the lines that will actually update where he is. Because the timesheet on the timing and scoring board that you have, it's measured off of the car ahead of you. But if the gap from you to the car ahead of you in positioning is multiple seconds or minutes, you have to wait multiple seconds or minutes for that time to actually update. And no, Ryan Hurricane is actually making a stop now as well. So Hurricane is not going to really benefit at all. So Hurricane pitting. Now, one driver that does help a little bit is Smoothie, although Smoothie is still a lap down. If something happened to Jameson, Smoothie might be in a better position, might even be able to try and fight for, and Gabo, 112.935. So the drivers who have not have to worry about fuel, they're now really starting to show their pace. We could see some very interesting drivers get fast slapped today. And Ryan Hurricane is now officially being listed a lap down. Yes, Jameson has officially put every single person on the racetrack a lap down. I repeat, Jameson has lapped everyone in this race. Incredible. And John is still not worried about fuel. He's just puttering along like nobody's business. Outstanding. You hardly ever see this. This is not only going to possibly be a record for fastest race ever, we could also see a record for biggest gap from first to second ever in an XRL race. As Gabo now pitting, did he hit the wall? He might have hit the wall, and if he hit the wall, that'll work out well for Torpedo, because Torpedo should be able to get back by Gabo, because Torpedo doesn't have to worry about tires to the end. They're old tires, but those mediums will last him to the end of this race. And yes, there is a wing. They're repairing damage to Gabo's car. They're also serving one of his time penalties now as well. So that small benefits, I guess. That'll help him a bit. But Gabo will now fall to 6th, but he's still a lap ahead of Zola, so Zola doesn't really have any way to take advantage of it, though. Beastian, Worsen, and Raptor have all also just made stops in the last lap or two, in the last lap or so, and they're all now on fresh softs as well, so everyone who's on track is going to be going fast. Raptor still questionable on fuel. Worsen has turned his fuel scenario around. Beastian has turned his fuel scenario around. Zola is still questionable on fuel. Torpedo is still questionable on fuel. Anderson was questionable on fuel for a long time, but the word that we're seeing right now is that he is good on fuel. They are coming in. They are finally taking off this set of soft tires, so that will go in Torpedo's favor. Torpedo might be able to get by him. You know, they say Worsen doesn't have a problem with fuel, but I keep seeing that car slow down significantly on parts of the racetrack as if he is having problems with fuel. Zola, that's their leader, Jameson, putting him another lap down. Torpedo's still iffy on fuel. I think Anderson's fine because he committed to fuel saving way earlier than almost everyone else. Smoothie is fine on fuel. Ryan Hurricane is a lap down. He is still iffy on fuel. He has started using a little bit more ERS, it looks like. But it almost doesn't matter. And he's on soft tires, but he can't really do anything with the soft tires because, yeah, sure, he's faster through the corners, but he's not maintaining any of that speed. Listen, we'll go silent and you can just listen. Listen how early he's letting off. Gabo has just gotten by Torpedo. Torpedo, he's not saving nearly as aggressively, but he has definitely saved fuel. As Jabez John has just set the fastest lap in the lead. Well, that seems like one way to put the knee on everyone else on the field's neck. That's Raptor who sneaks by Torpedo now. As Torpedo desperately trying to save fuel. Oh, and there's something wrong with Torpedo's car. And they have to come in to repair it. They're going to run out of tires for some of these guys. We're actually starting to see them put on tires that have already had wear on them in earlier stages of this race. So, very bizarre race to say the least. Here's the other thing. Smoothie is seriously in position where if this keeps up, he could fight with Ryan Hurricane or take second outright from Ryan Hurricane, because Hurricane is still trying to save fuel. Smoothie still doesn't have to worry about it. The one thing that's really helping Ryan Hurricane right now, though, is that it's 20 seconds and there are a bunch of there's a lot of lap traffic between the two of them in these last 10 laps. And I don't think Smoothie is 2 seconds a lap faster than Ryan. But the fuel number is still very, very questionable right now. That's Raptor who's pulled off there real quickly. As we look at the interval gaps, Worsen 5 laps off, as is Raptor. They cannot afford to be more than 7 laps. They cannot afford to be more than 7 laps off. If they're more than 7 laps off, they will not be in position to get points. Zola making a stop in the 7th position right now. That will help Beastian close in a little bit. But Zola has fresh rubber now, so it almost doesn't matter. So Zola's going to try and go for fastest lap point. Anderson, time penalty for track violations. Beastian's now close to about 20 seconds off from Zola. Again, the gaps are so large that no one's really in positions to make moves. As we look at time penalties, Gabo 15 seconds worth. Ooh, that's not going to help him very much, especially considering he's trying to run down Mr. Anderson, and Anderson only has 6 seconds in comparison. The interesting one, Ryan Hurricane 3 seconds, Smoothie no time penalties. And with 8 laps to go, Smoothie has closed the gap down to about 19 seconds. Depending on how aggressively Hurricane has to save for these remaining laps, you could see Smoothie snipe second off of Ryan. And Smoothie's not been in podium contention at all today. But Smoothie called it right, it looks like, when it came to the fuel number, the fuel game, and it might work out very well for him. And that's Mr. Anderson, who's in 4th. And again, Anderson had fuel problems early, and he committed very early to fuel saving, and it looks like he's going to be able to recover and still finish in the top 4. Now, I think I'm pretty sure he'll lose the points lead to James John, but being able to do that, it goes to show why Mr. Anderson has been a championship contender and marked himself as a championship contender early on in this season. Raptor let his teammate go there. James John crosses the line. It's now 8 laps to go here at Monaco. Oh, and Worsen, he's out. And Mr. Worsen is out in Sector 3, but there is still no yellow. Ooh, that car is destroyed. And we'll try and invite Mr. Worsen in and see what happened from his perspective. But a big accident there in the swimming pool. He's closed down to about 17 seconds off from Ryan Hurricane. But on Ryan's team, it looks like they may have fixed the fuel issue. The fuel light is no longer flashing for Ryan, so he might be able to go full bore for the end now. Torpedo is still iffy on fuel, Zola is still iffy on fuel, and Raptor is still iffy on fuel as they are repairing another set of wings on that car. Raptor, very high risk that he might not get points. He's about to go 6 laps down now. he's about to be 6 laps down as you see the race leader passing right now. If Raptor goes one more lap down, that's it. I don't think he's going to be able to get points. He's 9th. He's persevered to 9th, but he's so many laps down, it's not looking good for him right now. Ryan Hurricane, he's starting to lay on the ERS. He's starting to improve his lap times. The gap between himself and Smoothie is 16 seconds. Honestly, it's closer to 13 because of time penalties right now. But as we ride on board the Williams car, listen to the engine as he goes through the tunnel. Let's see if he is still letting off early or not. Indeed, we can hear it there. He is finally able to start committing. He's actually starting to open a small gap against Smoothie 25. But there are still cars and drivers. Now Gabo has fuel concerns. So Gabo has pushed so hard for so long, and now Gabo is starting to worry about fuel. That's why he's falling off of Anderson. The good news for Gabo, though, is that he's 50 seconds ahead of Torpedo, so it shouldn't be an issue for him. But it's not looking... Oh, and he's coming into the pit. Well, okay. So with that in mind, Torpedo's now going to be able to close significantly on him. Torpedo has gone a second lap down now. Or is that a third lap? Third lap down now. Smoothie has now fallen to 19 seconds off. So yeah, Ryan Hurricane is finally coming alive. They have saved enough fuel on that car that he's able to start going. But for Smoothie, still stealing a podium when he went a lap down very early in the race. Impressive job, impressive adaptability. I think of everyone here, the two drivers who I wanted to nominate for Driver of the Day, Fiend and Sasha Ferrain, side by side for about half a lap, they're both out. I think Smoothie is going to be would probably be my pick for Driver of the Day, assuming that he doesn't crash out here in these last few laps. But Gabo now dealing with fuel issues, as is Torpedo behind him. Zola in 7th is dealing with fuel issues. BCN doesn't have to worry about that, but BCN's 30 seconds off from Zola. He can't capitalize unless Zola outright runs out. And then Raptor back there in 9th, also struggling with fuel. But right now, according to the telemetry, no one in the top 4 has to worry about fuel. And Smoothie has just come into the pit lane. They're probably going to throw on a set of soft tires. But was there wing damage? Did he wreck the car? Yes. There must have been some sort of wing damage that we could not see. As they're repairing the front wing on that machine. Anderson, though, being 56 seconds off, he is not close enough to do anything to capitalize on Smoothie's issues. Not to mention, Smoothie still has no time penalties, while Anderson does. But that does mean that Ryan Hurricane automatically is going to lock down 2nd. No fuel issues for him. He has finally saved enough that he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Torpedo will get back by Gabo, though. Torpedo has less time penalties than Gabo, so that will work out well. But Gabo has also fixed his fuel issue. Apparently, Torpedo is still iffy on fuel. Zola, still iffy on fuel. Raptor, still iffy on fuel. So there's still 1, 2, 3. Up! Gabo's lights flashed on and off for a moment there. But there are still... 2, 3. There are still 3 drivers who might not make it to the end on fuel. We are in the closing laps of this event. The highest of them is Torpedo running 5th, and he's only 3 seconds ahead of Gabo, and that gap is closing rapidly. He still needs to save. And ahead of him on track is the McLaren Raptor. Raptor, who is 9th. He needs to somehow balance the fuel with the fact that he cannot afford to go another lap down. And then there's Zola. Zola trying to walk home with 7th here. He probably has the least to lose, assuming that he's able to coast to the line. He can afford to do a lot of coasting. He's so far ahead of Beastie, it's not gonna matter. Even when you factor in time penalties, he's still 26 seconds ahead. Gabo, another time penalty, but he's closing rapidly on Torpedo because Torpedo still has to worry about fuel. Clear track ahead for Davis Don. No reason for him to be concerned. Only 9 cars still on the track, and there's only 1 car on the lead lap. That is your leader, Davis Don. Dude. I cannot believe the clinic that Don has put on today. And then he could still get another 3 seconds of time penalty off post-race if he really wants to fight for it as well. That would be Raptor, who's pulled over to let some other drivers by. Raptor's just trying to survive. He's just trying to make it what's basically going to be about 3 more laps for him. And he's trying to also do that with a fuel light flashing on that car. For Torpedo, Gabo has caught him once more. Gabo, they're saying there's no fuel reasons to be concerned on his part. So he's pushing hard on Torpedo once more. Thing is, Gabo has 18 seconds. Torpedo only has 6 seconds worth of penalties. Zola has had an accident! Ah! And Zola's had an accident there. At the Novell chicane, the front wing's totally ripped off the car. He's able to continue, but now he is at a risk of maybe not even finishing the race. Obviously, he needs to be careful and not rip the car apart. But Beastian's going to close significantly on him, and Beastian does not have time penalties, so Beastian might be able to snipe 7th from Zola here. We're going to keep a watch on that, but the other one to watch is this battle here for 5th and 6th. Gabo is there behind Torpedo. Torpedo is still saving fuel. Gabo does not have to save fuel anymore. White flag is in the air as Davis John has crossed the line. Gabo's not close enough to overtake Torpedo. And I think with time penalties as well, he has no way to really get by him. Gabo, though, is more than 2 laps ahead of Zola. Beastian coming around the final corners. This is going to be really close. If he's within 12 seconds of Zola, he might be able to sneak 7. Oh, and Zola just got a penalty for crossing the white line exiting pit road. That might be it. Beastian's going to snipe 7th from Zola, and Zola's still up in the air when it comes to his fuel. James John, your race leader is out of fuel! Your race leader is out of fuel, or is on fumes at least! But it's the last lap! He just needs to get through a few more corners! He has an entire lap on 2nd place! He should be able to coast to the line, but the fuel is out for him! Ryan, on board your race leader, James John! Oh dear, and this is gonna cause a stack up behind. Here he is, coming out, yes, enough fuel. James John will win the race by an entire lap and some change. Ryan Hurricane coming to the line. Torpedo will be able to finish 5th. Gabo gets 6th. Ryan Hurricane wins, he crossed the line. Raptor barely crosses the line. Him and Zola were on fumes across it. Beastian coming down. He is going to jump Zola, so Beastian will snipe 7th at the end. Ryan Hurricane will come home 2nd, over a lap behind James John, and here comes Smoothie. He'll be the last driver. Coming around, and this is it. Smoothie crosses the line, and the race is over. All right. Please tell me that everyone here is willing to stick around for interviews, because we're really, really early for finishing this race. We're really early for this race finishing, so I do want to talk to as many people as possible. So, here, Raptor. Raptor, I do want to talk with you real quickly, though, because you definitely were nail-biting to the end. But before anything else, I need to get Jabez John in here as well, though. Because he's the race winner, obviously. Alright, trying to get Jabez John into here. And on the screen right now, you can see the finishers in one of the most bizarre Monaco GPs ever. Jabez John has not joined the party yet, but I do want to go ahead and talk to 9th place finisher, XRL Raptor. Raptor, go ahead and make this short, sweet, and to the point. It didn't look like it was going to be any good for you, but you were able to persevere, finished, barely completed more than 90% of the race, nearly out of fuel at the end. How in the world did you finish that?
Wing or 3 or 4 and a prayer. That's it. That's it. This whole race was just a tragedy for a lot of people. Monaco is just a race that I think a lot of us just want to put behind us, move on to USA next week and be done with it, and never race this track again.
It was definitely an interesting race, to say the least. I do want to say thank you for being willing to stick around. All right, now I want to focus on Jabez John. Jabez John, you are the race winner. You finished the race in less than 100 minutes. You won the race, coasting across the line on fumes, and you put everybody more than a lap down. How in the world did you do that? How did you do any of that, John?
I have no idea. Not for 70 laps, anyway.
All right, well, here, let's go back to the start then. Start of the race, you're there on the front row with the Haas, and you get a good run going into turn 1. Were you ever concerned about anyone else getting alongside of you for the rest of the event?
Once I got away, no. Monaco is one of my favourite tracks. I always seem to do well here.
All right, well, fitting that's one of your favorites, considering that you won by a very significant amount. Not to mention, of everyone who finished the race, you made the fewest stops of them all with only 2. Everyone else had to make 3 or more. So, again, outstanding job on your part. I do want to ask one more question, and this is a question I'm going to ask everyone. Everyone was expecting there to be yellow flags today, so most of the drivers underfueled. You didn't have, at least looking from our telemetry, it didn't look like fuel was an issue for you until the very last lap when you ended up being on fumes.
I was saving fuel for
start
about the first 30 laps.
Oh.
I had underfueled as well, so yeah, I was going, once I'd got a pit stop ahead, I was easing off a bit to try and save fuel until I did the second pit stop.
All right, well, I want to say congratulations on a very, very impressive win, especially considering the clinic you put on everyone else with some good strategy and a little bit of luck here at Monaco. This also should give you the points lead very easily today as well.
Yes. That was good, though. It's fun.
All right. Well, congratulations, John. Outstanding job on the Ferrari team. Now I want to talk to our second place finisher, Ryan Hurricane. Ryan, pain for you in some ways, but still second. But I do want to ask Ryan real quickly, who's the person who's supposed to set up the lobbies for these races? Go ahead and make sure your audio is included, Ryan. You got it?
Yep.
All right.
I'm the one that sets the lobbies up.
Okay. Are you sure that you turned caution flags on and you didn't turn it off at some point?
Yep. And Bean, you did check it, right?
Yeah, I checked it. Yeah.
They were on.
All right, because that is such a bizarre thing to say the least. Okay, so I just got to ask, Ryan, second place, are you happy about this finish or not?
Yeah, it's way. I shouldn't be there, but I was lucky enough to be there and hold on to it.
All right, and now the one other question. You had to start saving fuel, and you saved for what felt like 30 laps straight. Like, how in the world did you get that much maintain that just enough fuel to make it to the end? I'm really curious how you made that happen.
Just a lot of lifting, and then eventually lifting even more because I realized it wasn't saving very fast. But thankfully, I had gaps between who was behind me, like extend, so I didn't have to worry about it as bad. Um, and then as soon as I went a little bit positive, I never went negative again, even when I was going full bore or full pace. So I figured that out. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this is true. Well, I will say this. You're going to go down in XRL record books, sadly not as the number 1 driver, but as the number 2 driver when it came to largest gap between winner and second place after this event's over.
I guess I'll take that.
All right. Well, that's the word from Ryan Hurricane. Thanks very much for being willing to talk with us. Now, I want to go ahead real quickly and talk to Smoothie25. Smoothie, you were one of the first people to go a lap down today, and you rebounded and finished third with fastest lap point. Walk us through the race from your perspective.
I was just trying to, keep it on track and not in the walls, and I did that a few times. I think I pitted 6 times, so I'll take third in fastest lap.
It was absolutely outstanding. I won't lie, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I'd kind of written you off early on, and I didn't really put a lot of focus on you most of the day. And then it was about 25 laps to go. I noticed that you started to climb up the grid, and I'm like, wait, how the heck did he get up there? What? Did he go left down earlier? How's he down there?
Yeah, it was. I would have written myself out too because it was just rough. It was rough the whole time, but like I said, just trying to put in some clean laps, save fuel, and finish. That was it.
Yeah, that is one other question I do want to ask Smoothie. I was following you most of the race. You seem to be one of the drivers who didn't have the fuel light flashing according to the telemetry on our end in the booth. So how bad or good was the fuel saving scenario for you?
I was fine. I started off, I think, a lap down, and I just kind of coasted through the first 30, 35 laps, and then from there I was all right.
All right, well, coming to it very early definitely paid off for you. Good job, a podium, a fastest lap. I'd say, personally, driver of the day.
Appreciate it.
All right, I want to talk to another person. Mr. Anderson, go ahead, include your audio. You came in here with the points lead. You leave without it, but all things considered, coming home fourth has to be some sort of victory for you, right?
I mean, to be honest, I never want to race there again. It was dreadful. The whole fact it didn't have safety cars is just glitched. I mean, what's the point? I got to lap 35 and I thought, well, why am I doing this? But fourth place, I'll take it. Should have had safety cars. The game's broken. That's not Ryan's fault. He's set up the lobby correctly. But yeah, so I did fuel saving lap 35 and didn't go over maybe 160 mile an hour if I'm lucky at any point.
Yeah, you were the first driver that I noticed and kind of clued me in because I didn't realize that fuel was going to be an issue until about halfway through the race. I just didn't even think about it, but you were the one who actually kind of clued me in. I looked at your telemetry and saw, oh, fuel issue, and you saved for what looked like a good 30 laps straight, and you still rebounded and came home fourth, so outstanding job on your part, I'd say.
Yeah, the fuel was a big issue. It got to minus 3.5, and I thought, I'm not doing this, but got on the softs and fell away, so thankfully I managed to gain the fuel back, but yeah, it wasn't the best race. If I could even call it a race.
It was a death game.
Yeah.
It was Monaco's version of Squid Game, we'll say.
Yeah. But yeah. I'm happy with fourth from that, but yeah, I don't want to do that again.
All right. Well, good job on fourth. Two more drivers I want to talk to real quickly. I want to talk real quickly to Zola, and I want to talk to Beastian. Beastian, first you come home 7th. Good job. You're one of only 2 drivers to not get time penalties by race end, and at the very end, you sniped Zola for the 7th place position. Walk us through the race from your perspective.
I think we spoke about it last week. It was just basically surviving. So it was just the whole race, just not pushing at all, just making sure I hit my corners. And the funny thing is, like the one track extension I got, and then I think it was like 2 times I went in for wings, was just trying to let people through safely. So it was pretty hilarious how that happened. But the last one was just unfortunate because I pretty much ran off. I was like, yeah, I'm fine with 8, and I think Zola got screwed up game. So I don't know. I'll take 7th. Believe me, honestly, I thought I was just gonna crash out or just ran a couple of times during that race. So.
All right, Zola, there is one other question I have to ask you. You obviously finished multiple laps down. How was the fuel saving game for you, considering that in the end you didn't run the full 78 laps?
I ran 9 laps under fuel. So I was fuel saving from lap 1. Because as soon as I realised that Monaco doesn't have safety car after lap 1, because I was like 2 cars in a wall and no safety car. So I remember then after Dev doesn't have safety cars, and that was a massive crash there, and that didn't have any safety cars. So Monaco doesn't have safety cars. And then I had the same glitch that John had, where we stuck in the pit lane for over 2 minutes in a pit stop. That put me a lap down, and then in my car twice in a row, it put me into a wall. I couldn't move my car. I had to unplug my controller and plug it back in again for me to be able to use the actual car and move it. So my race was screwed, and that's what cost me P7 at the end. That's what I was in the wall for, because the game just decided to throw me into a wall, and I had no control of the car at all. So it cost me P7.
Well, the good news, though, Zola, is that at least your McLaren teammate was also able to finish in the points along with you, so it's not the
3
worst
points.
thing ever, I would say.
Well, 5 points. Yeah, it's still nowhere near as money as it should have been. But it is what it is. It's Monaco, so it's out the way now. Won't be doing that again, though, because it's so glitched. It's unreal.
Yeah, no, it is a shame. That was a very interesting race, although, yeah, I would say just because of the number of glitches. There was at least 2 times that also in the middle of the race where the entire scoring board completely flipped itself on its head and tried to kill itself as well.
When you had Raptor going slowly on track, yeah.
Yep.
That's when John was in the pits. That entire time was when he was actually in the pits. That's how much it cost him. And it only let him out of the pits when his actual car glitched around the track and went in the pits and then let him back out again.
Yeah.
So that's what both our cars did. And it only happened to McLaren. No one else had that glitch.
Yeah.
So we were 2 laps down, basically 1.5 laps down before anyone else was. So it is what it is.
All right, well, good news is you were able to persevere. You were able to finish the race in the end and come home with points. Looking forward to next week for USA. I assume you're anticipating back into the top 5, right?
Yeah, there's some USA. I mean, I like USA. I like Mexico as well. That's coming up next 2 races. So, and with it being in McLaren as well, got a massive chance. There's 2 massive straights, so we should have a massive chance to get some decent points there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Zola, I do want to say thanks for talking with us, and to basically everyone, Beastia, Jabus John, everyone else who was willing to speak with us post-race, thank you very much. I've been your host for today's race, Insane Leader 13. A very interesting race because it felt like it went on forever, but I'm also pretty sure this race is going to go down in XRL Records books as the fastest realistic length race ever and the largest gap between first and second ever. And I think it's also might go down as the earliest start to a race ever that's gone through all 3 stages of qualifying. So
Yeah,
a lot of weird records
distance.
and weird scenarios today as
but
well.
But the race was
so,
full distance, though, not 50%. So it wouldn't actually break any records, only in XRL. Not in XRL.
Only within realistic. But that's still really, really strange, irregardless. Same thing
Monaco.
with Yeah, I know it's Monaco, and that's the weird thing. Everyone agreed
the reason
that
was a
a
massive
bunch of
gap is
safety
because
cars.
there was no safety cars.
Yeah.
And John didn't make any mistakes. Everyone else around him
Yeah, this is
basically
true.
underfueled, and he didn't. Well, he did, but not like as much as what we did.
Yeah. But anyways, I've been your host, Insane Leader 13. It's time to wrap up this broadcast. Hopefully, all you guys watching are able to enjoy your extra time off. Next week will be the United States as they run the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Until then, I'll see you later. Goodbye, everyone.